My name is Kimberly, and today we'll be learning about response prompting procedures. So, response prompting procedures are a systematic use of strategies that are meant to increase the probability of correct responding and opportunities for the learner to receive positive reinforcement. To accomplish this goal, response prompting procedures provide and then systematically remove prompts. But before we get into the prompting procedures that are commonly used, we'll first define what a prompt is, discuss the different levels of prompting, review least to most and most to least strategies, and then we'll discuss the importance of using prompting procedures. So, what is a prompt? Well, in applied behavior analysis, or any form of behavior therapy, the term prompting refers to the provision of assistance or cues to encourage the use of a specific skill. So, what does that even mean, you may ask? Well, a prompt is like a hint, if you will, to guide the learner to get the correct response. In order to accomplish this, 7 prompt levels are outlined, all of which are shown here. So, in order to elaborate, we will use an example of stacking Legos while reviewing the different prompt levels. So, in independent prompting, if I wanted an individual to stack Legos, I would make sure that the Legos are readily available, and then I would simply ask the learner to stack the Legos. In this scenario, I would allow the learner to perform the task independently. However, in visual prompting, if I wanted the learner to stack Legos, I may provide a picture or a cue that the learner can see to provide information about what it is that they are expected to do. In this scenario, stack Legos. Verbal prompting, on the other hand, entails the teacher to tell the learner what the answer is or give a verbal cue. So it could be the beginning of the sound, le for Legos, or giving the direction more than once. So in stacking Legos, I may ask them once, and if the learner doesn't respond, I may give the direction again. Meanwhile, gestural prompting is a prompt that requires the teacher to either point, reach, or nod toward the answer, if you will. So that way it gives information to the learner about what the correct response is. So once more, with the Legos, if I say stack Legos, I may gesture or point to the pile of Legos. Modeling, the 5th level type, would involve the demonstration of the task or the skill, and then asking the client to repeat it. In which case, I may say, stack Legos. I myself would then stack the Legos, and then I would ask the individual to perform the same task. Partial physical prompts differ in that the instructor is actually going to provide some physical assistance to guide the learner to perform the requested activity. So in this scenario, I may lightly tap or move the individual's forearm toward the Legos so that they can engage in the skill of stacking the Legos. Lastly, full physical prompts are also known as hand over hand assistance because full physical prompts involves physically guiding the client's hand to complete the skill. So in this scenario, if I wanted the individual to stack Legos, I would actually use my hand to guide their hand in order to stack those Legos. So if you've realized through the introduction of each of the levels, you'll see that these prompts move in a direction with the individual being asked to perform the task independently, all the way down to the teacher helping the individual perform the task physically. And this is called least to most prompting. In least to most prompting, the teacher is using the least invasive form of a prompt before moving to a more intrusive form, such as visual, verbal, gestural, modeling, partial, and full physical prompts. That being said, there is also the option to use most to least prompting, in which case the teacher would start by providing a full physical prompt and gradually reduce the prompts over time based on the learner's needs. Whether you elect least to most or most to least prompting, it's important to know that these can be used for discrete learning of single behaviors, as well as chain skills that require sequence behaviors. A common example of a chain skill would be washing your hands or getting dressed or even making a bed, because those tasks require several steps in order to complete them. So, why use prompting? Well, aside from minimizing errors that may impair discrimination learning, um, prompting is often used because you want the teacher, or the goal is to use a procedure that's efficient and effective to teach those individuals the fundamental skills they need for independent learning. And ultimately, that's why we conduct any skill or technique or method, is to ensure that those individuals are being able to increase independence. Well, I hope you learned and I hope you enjoyed this review of response prompting procedures.